Today, for the very first time, I'm listening to the just released brand new Sleep Token album. This is Take Me Back to Eden. Hello everybody and welcome back to another album review / reaction here on my channel. I am so excited to get into listening to Sleep Token, but before we do, I just have a few things I have to say. And the first thing is, this is my first video that I'm recording, my first reaction that I'm doing since I reached 1,000 subscribers. And I just absolutely cannot believe it. I am blown away. This is a huge milestone for me. It might not sound like a lot to people who are unfamiliar with my channel, but if you are new here, if this is the first time that you've been on my channel, know that at the beginning of this year, just 5 months ago, I had only 300 subscribers. And I have been releasing my videos, my reaction videos like this for about 2.5 years now at this point. So I had just been trucking along basically every now and then. I'd have a video that get like 1,000 views, and that was a really big one. Most of my reaction videos would get maybe 30 to 80 views on them or so, and I was just having fun, listening to music for the first time and then sharing it with anybody that would want to listen to it. And it wasn't until the beginning of this year that I decided to start doing reactions to Metallica, because I was sort of excited for 72 Seasons coming out, even though the only album of theirs that I was familiar with was the Black Album. And so I had the idea to invite one of my friends named Chris Schoenberg onto my channel and have him sit here with me and react to Metallica albums. And then that turned into inviting my other friend named Chris onto the channel to do some of their other albums, and it's sort of snowballed from there. And I've been having so much fun learning about Metallica, and so I'll have releasing all these reactions, and the views just keep going up and up on those reviews and those reactions, and I just absolutely am so thankful for everybody that is watching those videos. And so it is absolutely not lost on me that the reason I've reached 1,000 subscribers on my channel here is because of those Metallica videos. And I did release my Depeche Mode reaction earlier this year that got a lot of views as well, so I'm sure there's probably some Depeche Mode fans here, but maybe a lot of them are Depeche Mode and Metallica fans. I'm not sure that fan base really crosses over so much, but I absolutely adore both bands, and so I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that do. But I just want to say thank you to anybody who has been watching those Metallica videos and has subscribed, or anybody that's been watching any of my videos. I have a very few small number of people that have been watching a lot of my videos, not all of them, and by the way, please never feel obligated to watch everything that I release on my channel, whether you're subscribed or not. Only watch the videos that you want to watch. But I do have a very few small number of people that have been commenting on things since, for at least 1.5 years. So those people are the true heroes. But if you have been subscribing, if you have subscribed or been watching my videos over the last 5 months, know that I appreciate it very much. And I'm so thankful to have reached my 1,000 subscriber benchmark. And so I have a video coming out that I'm going to be recording in the next few days that's going to sort of be a little bit more about me personally, and also go through some of the projects that I worked on when I was working at the recording studio, and some just different projects that I've worked on, music projects that I've worked on over the last 15 years almost since I graduated from college. So I have that video coming out that I haven't recorded yet. I'm really excited to do that next week. Hopefully that'll be out next week at some point, but yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for Sleep Token though, and that's why we're here today. So one last thing I have to get out before we get into Sleep Token is that I'm going to try to use the audio from this album in the video. I'm really sure that Sleep Token knows the benefit, or at least whatever record label Sleep Token is on. They understand the benefit of having people be able to use their music in videos like this. And so I'm fairly certain, fingers crossed, feet crossed, everything you can cross, that I'll be able to use the audio from the album in this video so that you'll be able to hear exactly what I'm hearing. But if for some reason that's not the case, I don't want to hold it against Sleep Token. It's, in a lot of cases, it's probably not even up to the band. But if that is the case, in the description of this video, I will leave a link to all of the different places where maybe you can try to listen to the album. I'll try to find a Linktree link or something that they have on their website that you can just Listen to the album with me however you want to, if you have to. Also, obviously, listen to this album on your own first before you listen with me, because I'm going to probably be doing a lot of talking over the music. Generally on my channel here, what I do is talk about album production, song structuring, things like that, maybe some songwriting stuff. Very rarely do I ever break down lyrics, so don't necessarily expect that here. But also just know that I primarily focus on production stuff. So I'm going to be talking a lot over the music, sort of reacting to what I'm hearing in the moment. I might be like, oh, listen to that hi-hat, it sounds great, or it sounds terrible. Or maybe this is why they put the microphone in this place, or it sounds like they put the microphone in this place. This is a technique, whatever, how much, too much reverb, not enough reverb. So that's the kind of stuff I talk about, and I will be talking over the music a lot. So I think it's better for you to probably experience this album yourself first. I do want to try to get this video uploaded over the weekend. Now, since the album is just released today, I want to try to get the album uploaded over the weekend so that people might be searching for it online. My video can come up there. I'm sort of getting a little smarter with YouTube stuff. Hold on one second. Sorry for the interruption there. I'm the only one home at the moment, and so I have to answer the phone if it rings, and I have to answer it. In this case, it was just my grandma, and I can call her back when I'm done, so no big deal there. I can't really remember what I was saying. It probably wasn't important anyway, so just know that I will try to include the audio. If I can't, you'll have to find the links in the description. Also in the description, just to mention, there will be different timestamps for all the different sections of the video. I'm sure you've probably noticed that already, but if you didn't, feel free to look in the description, find the different sections of this video. You can skip to individual songs if you want. After I'm done listening to the entire album, I will go ahead and sort of give my review of the album. I never assign a score or anything. It's mostly just me going over my overall thoughts and sort of summarizing a lot of the experience I had while listening to the album. So if you don't want to listen to me listen to the entire thing, feel free to skip to the end, and no harm done there. Okay, so on to Sleep Token. Earlier this year, the very first video that I actually recorded for my channel that had my friend Chris Schoenberg, the guy that did some of my Metallica videos with me, the very first video we ever recorded together was a reaction to Sleep Token.
The guitar tone on the solo was good. Yep. It was nice. It was very clear, very produced. The whole thing is very polished.
Oh, yeah, it sounded fantastic.
It's not metal.
Well, the beginning part was metal. It was very genty. I feel like it sounded very genty.
It was metal inspired.
But heavy, regardless. but yeah, I like it. I actually almost probably like the second half of the song better than the first half.
I think that I could probably get on with that, yeah.
Because if you're going to have a voice like that, it sounded a little bit weird over the heavier part. But then to have him singing like that over the synth pads and stuff.
Maybe that's what they always do.
That's... very good point. It was kind of interesting because I had been seeing Sleep Token popping up on a lot of the reaction channels that I watch. I know that Nick Nocturnal did several of their videos, and I know that Tank the Tech did several of those videos. I believe Charismatic Voice did one of their videos or so. But I had been seeing them sort of popping up, seeing their name pop up in thumbnails, and I didn't watch any of those videos. But I was a little curious, and the day before we started recording our Ride the Lightning reaction, which was the first Metallica album that we did, the day before we started recording that, I noticed that there was a new Sleep Token song out, and so I made a mental note, and I said, okay, I don't know who Sleep Token is, but I am going to force my friend Chris to listen to this, and I didn't think that he would really like it. But I didn't really know too much about it, just, a little bit that I'd seen like clicking around a video here or there when Tank the Tech, I think, was listening to him. I clicked on it just because I was curious what they sounded like. But I never explored them myself or anything like that, or so I thought. So anyway, the next day we sat down, we recorded the reaction, which is here on my channel. I should have looked how many views it has, but I'm not sure, not too many. But my friend Chris, who was here reacting with me, he did not care for it as much, and I didn't know what to think at first. His voice was very, very unique and different for the style of music they were going for. However, I think it grew on me as the song went, because it was the song The Summoning, I believe, and it's a pretty long song, and so the song grew on me. There was a lot of elements that I really enjoyed. The keyboards were really great. I liked the heaviness, the sort of maybe a little gentiness of it. I really enjoyed all of that, and his vocals kind of grew on me. And then when I was editing the video back later and I re-listened to the song, I think I was really starting to like it. And so I made a note to myself, okay, if I hear later in the year that Sleep Token's coming out with an album, I'll go ahead and do a reaction to it maybe, especially because I know that they're like big in the reaction sphere. And so, there's no harm done, and I was starting to enjoy them, so I was like, I'll do that. And so a couple weeks later, I found out that they had an album. It was scheduled, or their album was scheduled to come out sometime now in May, I guess. And so I added it to my calendar, and earlier this week it popped up, and I was like, hey, here comes the Sleep Token reaction. Now, I will say one other thing I found out in between there, though, was I looked up Sleep Token after we did that reaction, and I found out that I had actually heard, I don't think the whole thing, but I had heard a bit of their first album, which is called Sundowning, I believe, which is a really cool album title, and it had a cool image on the front too. It was sort of like a faded black and white sort of image. It was very neat. The black sort of fades into the white. It was cool. But I remembered seeing that image, and when I looked at the album on Spotify, I saw that I had liked it, and then I realized what had happened. But I think what must have happened was, and this, I'm not going to talk about this for very long, I promise, because I do tend to go on and on. But one of the major ways that I use to discover new music is actually through Facebook. I have basically curated my Facebook ads to all be new albums that are being released, and I discover so much interesting and fun stuff throughout the year that I really enjoy. And some of the stuff that ends up on my top 12 albums of the year list, which I make every year and put out here on my channel, put up a lot of effort into those videos. But some of the albums that have been on my list in the past, meaning my top albums of the year, I've discovered just through a Facebook ad. And so what I think happened was, when their 2021, I think, album, their middle album, which I can't remember what that one's called. It was something about your grave. But when that album came out, they must have released a single. And at the time, I must have heard the single just like clicking on a Facebook ad or something, heard a bit of the song and thought, oh, this is interesting. And so this is my formula with that. When I see an ad for a new song or a new album, I'll click on it. If it sounds interesting at all, I'll go find it on Spotify and I'll like the album. I'll basically add it to my liked albums. And across the whole year, I accrue this huge number of albums, hundreds of albums, that I then go back and start to try to listen to and weed out the ones that aren't necessarily great. And that's how I whittle down everything to then at the end of the year go through all the albums that I thought were maybe worth another listen. And so what must have happened, I think, was they released a single for their second album. I went and looked on their Spotify page. I do not deal with singles ever. I have no use for a single. I only ever really listen to full albums. Of course, there are certain songs on albums that I like more than others, but I tend to never, ever listen to singles, other than in this instance that I'm talking about here, where I use a single to like find a band or something. So I went and looked on their Spotify page, saw their first album, Sundowning, must have listened to a little bit of it and thought, oh, this is really cool, but it's not in the year that I'm currently in, which must have been 2021, I think, was when their second album came out. And so I kind of let them fall away. I kind of forgot about them. I do remember maybe at the end of 2021 going through my albums and seeing that album on my list and not being smart enough to think, oh, this is from 2019. I need to see if they had a new album come out this year. Anyway, I'm talking about this way too long, but I wanted to say that I have heard a little bit of their first album, Sundowning, and so I do know what they sound like on that. And I was still surprised when I heard The Summoning. I think it was The Summoning, their new song that I heard this year. I was shocked because I just didn't really remember, I guess. And so that's my really long-winded how I discovered, Sleep Token story, I guess. So I looked him up Wikipedia here. Generally, when I go into a reaction not knowing the band, I want to go in as blind as possible. However, I've been getting a lot of feedback on my Metallica videos that people wish I would do more research before my videos. So I looked up and read a little bit of their Wikipedia page. I found out that they are anonymous people. No one knows who they are, which I think is really cool. I think that adds to the mystique of the band. I absolutely love stuff like that. They were compared to Ghost in that regard, and Ghost is a band that I have never gotten into. So I have never heard any Ghost albums. I've heard a few Ghost songs, and I remember being like super impressed with the production and the keyboards that I was hearing. I thought that Ghost was a totally different sounding band. But I also think that they have like rotating members and things, and people don't know who they are and all this stuff. So I've heard them sort of compared to that. I don't think that they sound anything like Ghost though. But I think that's really cool that they perform anonymously. It was one of my favorite things about the Gorillaz when the project first started. Damon Albarn had intended the Gorillaz to be an anonymous project, that when he was done with them, he could pass on to someone else, and that the Gorillaz could just exist forever without anybody really ever knowing. He always wanted to keep it a very collaborative project so that there was never a specific set of Gorillaz, or that there were the characters, 2D, Murdoch, Russell, and Noodle. He wanted those to be the main characters and the artwork to continue on forever, but the idea originally was to pass the music on to someone else and to pass the artwork from Jamie Hewlett onto another artist, and have the Gorillaz basically just go every album from different people and have it be the same band though. And I absolutely adore that idea. I think that's so cool. This has nothing to do with the Gorillaz, though, but I'm just saying I really like that sort of the mysterious ethos, the vibe of that kind of a thing. I saw they're from England, which is really cool. A lot of metal from England I enjoy, though not as much as from sort of mainland Europe. That's where a lot of the metal bands that I absolutely love come from. So it'll be interesting to hear I don't even know if you really call this metal. I guess it definitely is metal, but I'm hoping we have lots of moments where in the summoning, the thing that stands out to me the most is this sort of like long patience of the track, the long sections where the song didn't feel in a rush to get anywhere. I really enjoyed that. That was a very sort of prog aesthetic to the song that I really enjoyed, and I don't know how much of that we're going to get here. That song is on this album, I believe, so we're going to at least get it in that song. But I really liked the prog sort of aesthetic that they had there. I'm just starting to get into prog metal and prog rock a little bit more now, and I really enjoy the band Frost a lot. I think they're a fantastic band to get into prog music a little bit more. They remind me a lot of one of my favorite electronic musicians named BT. So I'm getting into Frost a little bit. I'm also getting into, I don't know if you necessarily consider them prog, but stuff like Avatarium, Oceans of Slumber a little bit. There's definitely a lot of prog metal in that. I do remember the Summoning. It sounded a little bit like a bass-driven sort of band, so maybe a little bit of like Port Noir in there, Royal Blood, something like that maybe. The vocalist, whose name I think is just Vessel 1 or Vessel 2 or something like that, he reminded me a lot of the guy from the Icelandic sort of blues rock band Kaleo. I really, really, really enjoy one of their albums. Their most recent album was pretty disappointing. It's way too dynamic, actually. The quiet parts are too quiet and the loud parts are too loud in relation to each other, which is very rare to have on an album nowadays. But so that's pretty much everything I know about this band. If I really enjoy this, which I'm really hoping that I do think that there's a chance this album could make it on my top 12 albums of the year list for this year. I have high expectations for this. But if I really enjoy this album, I will definitely go back and listen to the Sundowning and it's in completion. Like, I'll complete the whole thing and listen to the entire thing. And I'll listen to their second album as well. I did read on their Wikipedia page that this is considered the final part of a trilogy of albums. So I think that that's really cool. I don't know how the albums are connected. I would assume thematically they're connected. I don't know if sonically they sound very similar. I would assume the guys are a lot more mature and have a lot more experience now on their third album than they did on their first album. I don't know how old they were when they started, though. They might have been veterans in the music industry this whole time. But generally, over the course of 3 albums, over the course of 6 years, I think it's been, a band tends to generally mature a lot in that time, especially in terms of performing in the studio, crafting in the studio, musicianship. There's lots of ways that you can mature. So I'm assuming that this album is probably their best, though that's not necessarily the case. A lot of bands, their first album is their best one because those are the songs they sat with the longest before they went in and recorded them, but that's neither here nor there. So I'm very excited to listen to this. We're going to get to it in 1 second, but first I have one last thing I have to do. Look here on my table, and I'll be right back with you in a second. Normally in my videos, I tend to drink a soda pop, or a pop as we call it here in the Midwest. But today I have something very special. I've talked in future videos about how I can only find the blue raspberry, blue flavored Tampico juice at one little store in my area here. They don't sell it at any Walmarts or Hy-Vees or any grocery stores. They just sell the mango and the fruit punch, the yellow, basically the yellow and the pink kind. But we found at Walmart the other day these very cute small bottles of blue raspberry Tampico juice. And so I don't know what's different about these, why they can't sell the big ones. But I'm excited to share that with everybody. Hey, if you're unaware, they now make these small blue Tampico juices. Now, if anybody is curious, I'm not. I don't count calories at all. But I will say, calories 35 per serving. So the whole bottle is 1 serving. 35 calories, 0 fat, 0 sodium, 3% carbohydrates, no protein, sugar is 8 grams. So yeah, not too bad. Not too bad as far as blue drink goes. Here's to you. Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay. Relax. Let me bring up the album. 12 tracks I saw, 63 minutes. Hold on, stop. 63 minutes. Song lengths, we got 5 minutes, 6.5. Oh, the summoning is track 2. Summoning is track 2. Then we have 3:45, 3:56, 5:39, 7 minutes and 8 seconds. Heck yeah. Who do they think they are, Metallica? 5 minutes, 4.5, 4 minutes, 4, almost 4. 8 minutes, 20 seconds is the title track. Let's go. And then 5:13 to round us out with track 12. Okay. Oh, I forgot to say, I did read that Sleep, the band members have said that they are serving the sleep spirit or demon or god or something like that, and that everything that they do is for this sleep thing, this entity. And so, again, I just think all that stuff is cool. The lore is really neat and stuff. I don't know if the words have anything to do with that, the lyrics or anything, but we'll see. I also want to repeat again, I do not generally tend to focus on lyrics unless something really stands out to me, then I might mention it. Otherwise, I tend to not focus on lyrics. So, all right. Sleep Token, Take Me Back to Eden, track 1, Chokehold, starting now. I'm not sure what to expect having only heard the summoning, but there's this idea in my head that I have that I really want them to execute with these like long, spacious sections. I hope that that's true, but with the shorter songs, I don't know if they'll be able to do that, but this is already really cool. Turn it up. Very distinct vocal style. And I'm not a singing expert at all. Very warbly voice. Very interesting. Very, very unique sound. Wow. The other sound I assume is some sort of like a keyboard going through a pattern, and someone's turning like a distortion knob, or some sort of like a pedal maybe hooked up to. But this is exactly what I wanted. I can hear some synth pads rising. Ooh. Ooh. That hi-hat. Very distorted. Piano, it sounds like. Ooh. Oh, the guitars sound great. Oh. Ooh. Ooh, very pretty. I mean, a little ominous, I guess, too, but just not the layer element I was expecting them to add there. I can't remember if there were any distorted vocals. I think that there were. I'm anxious to hear him scream. Oh, yeah. Clean electric guitar. Very reverb. Heavy. A lot of reverb on the snare as well. You really feel the space that everything is sitting in, and I'm fairly certain it's a virtual space. I don't think that they recorded the drums naturally sounding like that. Everything was probably dry. Drums are probably replaced more likely than anything. Rising. A low vocal harmony. One thing I will say, or well, we'll see. The song's building up here. That sort of sound. That was a bad imitation of it. It's just constantly going. Sorry, I'm very thirsty. I should have drank some water before starting this recording. Very pretty sort of sounding piano playing over the top of everything. It's hard to get something very beautiful like that and lush, maybe not so lush, over the top of heavy. Okay. So the next song is going to be The Summoning, which is the one I heard. So one thing I wanted to say was that one thing on my, if you've been on my channel before, you know that song structuring is a huge deal to me, and it's really important to me that a band goes back and repeats sections, and that there's like an obvious chorus that they can come back to multiple times throughout the song, preferably the 3 times. I definitely am someone that, a rare person in the music industry that really prefers ABA style formatting. I want every song ever to be structured intro, verse 1, chorus, verse 2, chorus, bridge, chorus, outro. That's what I want every song to do. And I remember with this song, can't really remember if there was a chorus or not. And so discernible choruses and repeating parts are very important to me. So if this whole album goes, like that first track didn't really have a chorus that I noticed. I was, the songs sections were different throughout. So we'll just see what happens. I want to get that out of the way right away, because that could be a big negative I have on this album if they don't repeat parts very much. That's very progressive of them to not do that, if they don't. Kick sounds big, massive. Lots of like room reverb on the guitars. Might be some big organs in there as well. Whoa. There's like a washiness to everything, like a big... There's a term that I use here on my channel all the time called mid-range soup. And it's something that almost all modern music has. If you take away the guitar, bass, drums, vocals, what's left? A lot of modern music just has this sort of like synth patty mid-range soup that I call it. This is awesome. So yeah, here's... Kick sounds fantastic. I'm gonna pay attention. Sorry. There, the guitars are very dry. All right. Very progressive rock, progressive metal sounding electric guitar solo here. And I say that again, I'm not a huge prog rock, prog metal fan, so I can't really compare it to too many things. I don't really know what the foundation for this is, other than it sounds fantastic. Okay, I do think this part happened earlier in the song, so this is probably the chorus. Those high harmonies are crazy. Those are really high. The vocals are definitely sitting inside of the mix. They're not laying on top of everything. They're definitely inside of it. Oh. Yeah. that's so cool. That. I think this is the part I probably remember the most from the first time I heard this song. Look, I'm almost done with my beverage. Come on. I love this. This is so cool. This is just patience. To release this as a single is pretty crazy. I love that. Oh, yeah. It's a very erratic, very fast-paced drum beat in the background there, but it's so small. The purpose that it's serving is to make it almost feel like you're floating through space. Very well done. Yes, this I remember. Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's so neat. And that's a guitar, I think, with some sort of like a filter sweep patch pad type, or a pedal, some kind of a crazy effect. I love it. Multiple layers. Very neat. That hi-hat. That hi-hat is so important. Now, the drums here are totally dry, but that hi-hat is so important in terms of grounding the space that you're sitting in. Now that sort of ride cymbal. I will say the whole mix sounds like it's missing a tiny bit of the sort of crispy high frequencies, but it's not bad at all. And that would be on mastering, I would assume. Oh, that's the end. All right. Okay, Granite, track 3. Much shorter song. We'll see if this one's structured a little more normally. Stereotypically. Very cool. I feel like I keep wanting to turn it up, but then it gets louder. So that definitely tells me the album is very dynamic. It just sounds like his mouth is full of cotton balls while he's singing. Yeah, yeah. I wonder if they're going to win like awards and stuff for this, because they've been pretty popular. They've been in the consciousness of the mainstream. And this seems like something that could, they could perform at the Grammys. They'd be an extremely heavy band to perform at the Grammys. It'd be crazy, but, very tight vocal harmonies. Probably manipulated vocal harmonies, I'm sure. Love this. That sort of trap hi-hat. Screw it, I'm turning it up. Low frequency is great. Subsonic frequencies in there. Adding some extra layers, vocals. Ooh. I love this. I would no guitars in this whole song at all. That would be so cool. Which makes me think of the Bad Omens album from last year. What an album that was. I think it was number 4, number 3 on my list. Very cool distorted drums there. Sense of building. Really interesting. I love that a band can do this. I wonder if the guitar player also plays keyboards. I think there was only 3 people listed, so it's probably the singer is the guitar player. Normally a guitar player would have so much ego he wouldn't be able to not play for 3/4 of the song, you know what I mean? You know what I mean. Okay, this is a chorus, I think. They repeated this earlier. Interesting. I love the idea of just having the guitars come in for that the bridge in the last chorus. Love the synths here. A little distortion there. They really know how to play with the space that you can imagine the music existing in. Like the physical space. Ooh. Oh. Oh my gosh. Amazing. Oh my. You do not hear like a real piano playing very much in pop music anymore. Not that this is pop music, but I mean, it kind of is. Love that synth. Very 80s. This is a very modern vocal melody here. I would love it if these guys were like old dudes, but I don't think so. It sounds like young person music to me. Again, that space. Love it. Yes. Oh my goodness. The piano. Oh. Those little bubbly. So good. Bass sounds great. Everything sounds good here. Vocals are really nice. Dry. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You can hear it was a real piano, I think this was played on, possibly. You can hear the piano being played more forcefully now, though, with more intensity. Snare drum as well has changed the sound a lot. Very good. They got that interesting ride cymbal that's on both sides at the same time. They had oh my goodness, this is amazing. Oh, I'm a sucker for some piano. Oh god, and it sounds so good. You can hear like movement in there. Oh my gosh. Wow. Dude, this is blowing my mind. I love this so much. Yes. Oh, the clean electric guitar. Sounds like recorded twice and panned, but it also sounds massive, possibly recorded with multiple microphones and each microphone panned left and right from single takes. Amazing. Go into the chorus one more time. Yes. Yes. Oh, this is my favorite track on the album so far. Yes. And you know, I'll bet metal fans who react to this are like, you get a whole song without guitars. There's no metal. They're not a metal band. I can just see it. People were so mad at Spirit Box for not having every song be, you know, Holy Roller, but it's like, oh, appreciate this for what it is. Appreciate it for what it is. Yes, that was awesome. More of that, please. Track 5. Now I'll probably get a heavy one. This one's 5.5, so we're back to a slightly longer. Those last two are shorter, relatively. Yes. And that is a guttural scream. Oh, yeah, that kick drum is massive. And the snare drum, if you'll notice now, it doesn't sound like a snare drum, so it almost sounds like they have the snares off. Very, very wooden sounding. Very hollow. Yeah. No high frequencies to it, like no snares at all. Like that. Guitars, not doing too much discernible, just noisy. And the vocals totally low passed. Okay, what are we gonna do now? We'll hear piano. Whispers, but very angry whispers. Okay. That could be vocal. There's so much. His voice is moving so much when he's singing, and I don't mean moving pitch. There's just so many things happening within his voice. Looking at the waveform would be really interesting. You know, this is reminding me a little bit of the band Vora as well. I believe they're from, where are they from? Denmark, maybe? Wow. Wow. Transition back into the intro of the song. Or the beginning part, at least. The vocal layering is exquisite. Maybe that sounds like probably an acoustic guitar patch, maybe with something else. Almost like a harpsichord type sounding thing. The beautiful layering of vocals. You know, I gotta say, this also reminds me a bit of another band from England that I love called Archive. They do not get heavy like this. They are not a metal band in any regard. But if you're unfamiliar with them, just look up their most recent album, which is called A Call to Arms and Angels. If you like the, it's very different, but if you listen to it, you might get what I'm talking about. They have many different vocalists. Again, they have this sort of like pretty sounding thing sitting on the top of intense music. It's tough to mix those things together. You either have to sacrifice the heaviness for the pretty stuff, or you sacrifice the pretty stuff. It's a hard thing to do. And one of my favorite genres of music is symphonic metal, and symphonic metal is all about that. How do you balance the beautiful with the like more pretty beautiful sounding sounds, or the more intimate sounding sounds? Maybe that's a better way to say it. The more intimate sounds with the more intense sounds. Oh no! I didn't expect us to need this. I didn't expect us to need this at all, but we have the fade outs board here. Because on my channel, we do not stand fade outs at all. So that's one strike against Sleep Token. You done messed up there. That was a stupid decision. Okay. Gorgeous piano again. It just sounds phenomenal. I gotta look at how long this track is. Oh, okay, the 7 minutes. Now, one thing I want to say about that previous track, there was a moment where we got some intense whispering, which is not something you will hear very much. Makes me think of Korn. Okay. This song's called Ascensionism. Loving it so far. Also, I will say his vocal style here is much more straightforward, which is nice. It fits this part. Okay. What are we going to do next here? We going to explode? No. Okay. Body language. Wow. This vocalist is insane. A lot of vocal manipulation there, pitch shifting, pitch tuning stuff. Which you've heard the entire album, but I have no problem with that at all. I'm not pointing that out as a negative. Wonder if this would be like a really good album to get maybe people who enjoy hip-hop music or rap music into heavy music. There's not a ton of really great albums that I would say could be good for that reason, but maybe this is one of them. These beats are really cool. Yes. Yeah. And I will say I rarely ever listen to rap music ever. I do enjoy some hip-hop music, which to me the differences between those are, I don't know if I even think of them correctly, but yeah, it's very rare I listen to anything modern rap at all. And I understand that this isn't necessarily rap music, but from what I've heard of a lot of modern rap music, it basically sounds just like this with less awesome sounding piano and probably different vocals, I guess. Love the piano. I love this. The cymbals sound really good. It's not overcompressed. Usually the cymbals are the element that you can hear the compression the most. Very cool. Ooh. Distorted bass. Massive. Ooh. God, the low frequencies are just massive. Wow, that was an awesome little timing thing in there, too. Oh, man, this is cool. I love that we've gotten to a point where metal music can be this. Oh, that's so cool. This is giving me Bad Omens vibes from last year. They are much more poppy in terms of what's going on here, but like they had definitely moments that were heavier than we've heard here. That was an incredibly heavy moment there, but like they have lots of more screaming and stuff in their music, but they will have whole songs or a majority of the song has no heaviness to it at all. You know, I love that we've reached a point in music where that's acceptable. I wonder if it would be awesome if they recorded like some sort of like a crazy live DVD, like Blu-ray, just like crazy, you know, with a quiet audience. That would be so cool. Or at least on a stage far enough away from the audience where screaming people wouldn't ruin the recording, but you know what I mean. Cool. Oh. Yeah. Oh, gosh. What a song. Wow. Track 7. Oh, gorgeous guitar. You know, one thing I want to say while it's a quiet moment, I wonder if he performs with a mask on of some sort. I wonder the mouth has to be open, because I was just thinking, if you had, when you're whispering, if you have something go in front of your face, it really affects it more so than if you're talking and you're projecting more and something moves in front of your face. You can definitely tell, but if you're whispering, you can really tell a lot more, because there's less. You're pushing your voice less. You're pushing your voice less, so when something passes in between it, you can barely hear it. Even just like a layer of cloth. Obviously, my hand is bigger and thicker, and there's more density to it than a layer of fabric or cloth, but still, it's a huge difference when you're talking about. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. What a cool guitar part. Love his low register voice as well. I haven't mentioned that yet. I love lower register male singers. Oh, wow. The vocals are so good. He has such a unique style. Very pretty sounding guitar part. Very hopeful sound here with the chords. Oh, I love it. Very cool. This is this is not a listen to it in the car type of album, right? And I love it when a band is not afraid to make an album that you're supposed to sit and pay attention to and listen to. And that's what this is. I love that. I love the idea of this, some casual music person liking one of these songs, putting it on in their rotation and having, you know, one of these songs come up. I love it. Or some, you know, that last track. It scares someone to death. They'd die if they were driving and heard that song and thought it was just this cool piano ballad. Wow. Tambourine, it sounds like, maybe. Could also be just some sort of like a programmed hi-hat. I hope that this album influences music moving forward. I would love to get more bands like this. Maybe bands that are a touch heavier more often or with more screaming vocals, because I don't really just like this dude's screaming vocals that much, but he hasn't been doing them very much. But then that aren't afraid to have these long, quiet parts as well. I mentioned them earlier, but Port Noir would be another band to check out if you enjoy some of this stuff. It's very different, much more groovy, but they're not like a hugely known band, so check them out, Port Noir. God, that guitar part is so like old-timey classic rock and roll guitar part. So, you know, really cool guitar part. Dude, that song was awesome. That was maybe my second favorite song on the album. I don't know, maybe third. That Ascensionism was really awesome. But Regia. Okay, they're sticking with the acoustic guitar right in the middle. Or not, the electric guitar right in the middle where it was in the previous track. Makes sense to have these two songs in a row then. Awesome vocal harmonies. Double tracked, spread wide. Oh. Yeah. Oh, cool. You know, we've gone kind of away from the more like lead synths. We had those first few songs, so this is cool. God, I bet metalheads just hate this. I love it, though. When I say metalheads, I don't mean every metalhead. You know the kind of people I'm talking about. I'm sure Sleep Token knows too, unfortunately. So for these parts, I wonder if the drummer just has some sort of like a box that he sits next to him, and then he pushes, basically controls the drum beats from there. Or does he have an electronic kit and a real kit there? Oh, those chunky lows when they go to him. They're almost like strings in the back. Interesting. I love that vocal part there. It's just serving as a rhythm. You couldn't really hear what was being said or anything, but it didn't matter. It was just serving to help move the song along. Very cool. Ooh, yeah. Oh, no. If they wouldn't have started that cool beat, I wouldn't consider this a fade. But as it is, that's a fade. That's not good. Come on. Sleep token. Your song does not exist forever in perpetuity when you fade it out. Don't think that it does. Oh, yeah, I love that. Little Crash Bandicoot. Little One Republic sounding, well, Little One Republic sounding all over, but vocal treatment for sure. Ooh. Yeah. Let's go as slow as possible. God, this is so cool. What an album. Oh. The reverse part. Very cool. I love the dryness of everything. You can hear a space, though. Ooh. Some extra sort of bass layers there. Ooh. Oh, God, this is awesome. Love that flitty synth in there. Very cool. Ooh. I hope this song doesn't get heavy. It's very cool. What a weird sound in there. Nice. Oh, whoa. Awesome. Okay, now are we going to have a heavy one again? That's what they did last time. They didn't have a song with any heavy. No, rain. Okay. Back to the piano. Awesome. Really like that last track. You know, the crazy, crazy pitch correction stuff, it's not bothering me as much as I thought that it might. I think we've heard earlier on in the album, you clearly know this dude can sing. And so now it's just like with Ryan Tedder and One Republic, it's just being used as a crazy over-the-top effect. But it's making it sound very specific, very specifically modern. Now that I said One Republic, I am seeing One Republic all over this. And I love One Republic. Oh, I love that vocal rhythm. A little bit different than what he's been doing. Very staccato with the way he's singing. Ba-da, 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 do-do, stop, da, da-da. Rather than ba-da-da-da-da-da, ba-da, da-da, da-da. Massive here. If maybe it's all I can't. Nobody can say that hit going up to your falsetto there. Da, 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 da. Very breathy. Da, 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 da. Now I got to make sure this is lined up correctly or I won't look like I don't know how to do time. Oh, yeah. Okay, I have a thought there, but I'll save it for my overall. All right, this next track, Take Me Back to Eden, the big epic 8 minute and 20 seconds. What's it gonna be? What's this song gonna be? Love how it ended with rain there, the sound of rain, by the way. Faraway piano. I love that I can whisper. You know what I mean? Like the fact that this album is quiet, like I was saying I wanted it to be. And then I can whisper. That's really cool. Interesting. Watch this whole track just be 8 minutes and 20 seconds of this. Just some artsy fartsy thing. Nope. Lots of reverb on the electric guitar. Panned in the middle again, which is nice, because they could do that spread wide, recorded multiple times. But just having it in the middle. And if the guitarist is the guy that's singing, then it makes sense. He'd be probably in the middle of the stage, and he's playing the guitar. There's delay and reverb. Very cool vocal melody. I hope this is the chorus and we get to hear it multiple times. Uh-oh. Damn, that's really getting high in there. Yeah. Really cool. Oh my gosh, we're only 3 minutes in, baby. We got 5 minutes to go. Let's go. Let's go. Where are we going to go, though? Yep. This is reminding me of Port Noir. Oh, and he even said cold cuts. Yeah. Yeah. Glockenspiel type thing. Back to that sound effect from the beginning. Little jazzy ride cymbal in there. Let's go, baby. Ooh, I like that synth in the back. I think that's a synth. Are we going to filter sweep that up? High pass filter sweep that up? Third time for the chorus. Each time got a little more added to it. Oh, that double bass in there. Oh my gosh. Terrible. Terrible, utter garbage trash. I was going to say that's my new favorite song on the album, but nope. Piano. I'm not going to let that ruin my experience here. Gorgeous piano. Very One Republic-y. Love the vocoders here. Totally new element we haven't had yet on the album. At least not isolated like this. That is a One Republic vocal melody. Da 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 da. Love it. I'm not saying that in a bad way again. Or in a bad, you know. Interesting. Sounds fantastic. I'm still furious that that last track faded out. Oh, that's a gut punch to me. Piano or tambourine. Interesting rhythm here. It's almost like a polyrhythm type thing going on. I don't know how to pronounce that word, this track's title. Euclid? 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 I like this song. Wow. Oh, what a journey that was. Oh. Well, that was, they did exactly what I wanted. It was a very patient album. As I said when we were listening there, that was not the type of an album that you could listen to in a car. I mean, I suppose if you had like a really great car with was really isolated sounding, you could listen to it, but it's not the kind of album that would benefit from that. You need to sit and focus on this album and listen to it, and I love the fact that they made an album like that. I really appreciate that. I think that's really cool. I think that the mix was fantastic across the board, and the thing that's interesting to me about the mix is that I do think there are parts of it that could have sounded better. However, when you look at the album as a whole and what each song was doing, you can't really have certain parts of a song sound a certain way because it wouldn't necessarily work with the other parts of the song and the way those parts sound. So, as an example, there were two tracks where the metal sounded phenomenal, I thought. And that was Ascensionism and then the end of Ascensionism, and also, or the breakdown part of Ascensionism, and then also the end of Take Me Back to Eden, the really long one at the end there that faded out and broke my heart. Those two tracks, there were moments where it was really heavy and, breakdowny, and it was crazy. And that to me is where there was high frequencies in the guitars. You could hear definition in them. You could really hear definition in the frequency, in the frequencies of the cymbals. You could hear everything really nice and clear, and it was crisp sounding, right? However, there were other parts, basically every other song on the album, where it got heavy. It felt a little bit more washy. And in some cases, it felt washy because they actually did have reverb on the guitars. It made everything sort of sound cavernous and big in relation to the space that you could imagine the band being in, right? Whereas those two songs I mentioned, it felt massive and enormous because of the frequencies, because of the response, because of the clarity of what you were hearing, because of the low frequencies. It sounded different. I think the metal sounded as best as it sounded on the album in those two moments. However, because it would be hard to have sung vocals over the top of something that was mixed like that. Both of those moments, there wasn't really vocals over the top of them. Maybe there was like a distorted scream or something that was definitely mixed sound intentionally to sound more background, but you couldn't have clean sung vocals, like more, laid back vocals. And I don't mean necessarily laid back in terms of part, but laid back in terms of the style with which he's singing. You couldn't have that over the top of very intense vocals like that. You'd have to make that part sound, you'd have to add high frequencies to it. You'd have to make it sound almost harsh sounding in order to sit over the top of it and not sound awkward or weird. So when you have these big sort of reverby sounding guitars and everything sounds a bit washy, you can have vocals that sound more laid back, again, style-wise, sitting over the top of it, and it works better that way. So that's one of the reasons I think the album is mixed really, really well. They did a phenomenal job with understanding the project as a whole and making every part sound as good as they could sound. I do think that there were moments that I liked more than others. I will definitely say the three songs, I am shocked that I had to bring this out at all for this. I did not think we were going to have to use the fade out board for this album, but we did. And unfortunately, it's a 3. So this album only gets, a 9 out of 12. And that is not good. One more song fading out, and that would have been a failing grade, according to my grading scale. And the fact that what would have possibly been my favorite song, that 8.5-minute song, the fact that that one fades out, and egregiously as it does as well. They could have just had the notes. They could have just had the song end. Instead, they wanted to repeat the part more and fade it out, and that's just awful. It's not the worst fade out I've ever heard, and it's not super, super, super egregious. It's not like the third chorus just started, and then they faded the song out because they didn't have enough room on the 45. But still, that 3 fade outs on this album is a huge bummer to me. And for me personally, and I know that that's a personal thing, if you're someone who is not familiar with my channel and haven't heard me complain about songs fading out for the last 2.5 years, I'm not going to go on and on about it. Just know that that's something that for me personally is basically a song breaker. It's a deal breaker for me. I absolutely cannot stand it when a song fades out. I do not think that there is any single instance. Maybe you could find one instance where it's like a cool thing or something, but I do not think there's any good excuse to ever fade a song out. I think it's lazy songwriting, and I think that the artist should learn how to end their songs. I do not think that it makes it feel like your song is sort of continuing on forever into the ether, into the cosmos. You're just putting it out there, fading out like it's still continuing on forever. I think that's really crap, and I think that's bad songwriting, in my opinion. Again, I know that that's a personal thing, that's a subjective thing on my in my opinion. But I do think objectively, this album sounds phenomenal. And I think that I mentioned it multiple times, the mixing of the genres and the mixing of the different styles of music that was going on was just such a risk. To have a 7-minute song where 6 minutes of that 7 minutes is just a beautiful piano melody with this awesome vocals over the top of it, some nice layering, very, very beautiful sounding, almost classical sounding. And then to have a minute of just the most intense, heavy, giant breakdown ever, like that is a risk to make songs like that, because who are you making that song for? Right? And that's the thing that's really interesting about this album. Like, an album like this is made for a person like me that really loves all different genres of music, and that really can enjoy super, super, super heavy, giant breakdowns, screaming. You know, the Summoning was definitely the most different sounding song on this album, I would say. You know, the last half of that song was very different from almost anything we heard on this album. So that's really interesting. And I would be curious to see if that's how their earlier albums sounded as well. I definitely need to go back and listen to those again, but really interesting. But like I said, who is this album being made for? It's being made for me, but I just can see metal people being really frustrated with this album in ways that go far beyond what Spirit Box did, right? Last year, Spirit Box released, or was it the year before? I think it was last year. No, it was the year before. Dang. Well, whatever. I think we might be getting new Spirit Box this year. That would be awesome if we got a new album. But anyway, when Spirit Box released Holy Roller, it was like, to me, one of the great moments of all music and all of reactions. I loved that. I'll remember that song releasing and having all the channels that I love reacting to that song forever. And I love that song too. I think it's maybe one of the best metal songs that's been released in the last, I don't know how long. It sounds phenomenal. And it's amazing. But then when they released their album, all these people were like, what the heck? Every song has singing on it. There's not as much screaming as we wanted. Like, this is not what we were expecting. And I was shocked with like the more 90s influence in it. And I thought that was really nice. I really liked that album a lot. Eternal Blue is what I'm talking about. Spirit Box's Eternal Blue. This goes so far beyond that. You know, if you heard one of these songs or a second of one of these songs or a minute or whatever where they're being heavy and you like, oh, that's awesome. Let me add this album to my playlist. And you listen to it, you would be like, what is this? Get this out, you know? And I know, unfortunately, a lot of metalheads, that when it gets to the parts where it sounds a little bit more hip-hoppy, rappy, there's a lot of people that I even know personally that would be like, nope, get this off. You know, like, so that's really unfortunate. However, we don't need to dwell on that because hopefully you, like me, we don't have to worry about that because we enjoy all styles of music. And the most special thing to me about this album is how it's these different styles of music being put together in something that's totally enjoyable. I said at the beginning I wanted the songs to have patience, and oh boy, do they. I really think that they did such a good job crafting these songs, and they do feel crafted. You know, I talk a lot about how there's different ways to approach the writing of songs and the writing of an album. A lot of bands, they go into a rehearsal space, they write songs, and then they go into a studio and record them. I tend to always prefer myself gravitating towards sort of the other way that you can create an album, which is to go into the studio, come up with individual parts, and craft a song, craft an album in the studio. And I absolutely love bands that can do that. And that is what this sounds like. This sounds like the dude Vessel or whatever who wrote these songs, the guy that kind of heads everything up, they Sleep Token crafted these songs from the ground up, and I just heartily applaud them for taking the risks that they did here by having the songs be just so outrageously dynamic from one end of the spectrum to the other. I have to shout out the piano playing. I think the piano playing is phenomenal across the board. I thought it was fantastic. And there was several moments where I just was like, I couldn't even believe what I was listening to. I want to say my favorite song on the album for sure still, even now that we've got to the end, was Aqua Regia, or Regia. I forget the way they were pronouncing the words in there. Track 4 is definitely my favorite one. My second favorite track would be Ascensionism, and then DYWTYLM, which I think was Do You Wish You Loved Me or something like that. Do You Wish You Something Loved Me? It doesn't matter. But that, you know which track I'm talking about, track 9. And then what would be my favorite track was track 11, but because of the fade out, it gets bumped all the way down, I think, to track 4. My fourth favorite. And then I really liked that last track, which is pronounced, I don't know, Euclid, something like that. The first track, I probably should go back and listen to it again. I mean, I will listen to all this again now, but that Chokehold really did not impress me that much. The Summoning, I think, was really great, and I was expecting more of that across the album, but that was the most different one. Then we had Granite, which I don't recall at all, and it was after that where I think I fell into the groove of what they were doing, and I got it a little bit more, and I stopped worrying about things that I was thinking they were going to do and just started to appreciating them for what they were doing, if that makes sense. Sometimes that's how it is with me in an album. You know, I come into a reaction thinking the band might do something, and then they do something a little different. It throws me off, and it takes me a couple songs to get into it. But then once I actually get into it, That's absolutely how my Lorna Shore reaction from last year went. It took me like almost half the album to sort of understand what I should be listening for and to try to get it, to be able to then, I feel like, appreciate it. And I really feel like in those, on that reaction, you can see me start to understand what's happening and getting into the reaction a lot more. Not even the reaction, take the reaction out of it. You can see me starting to understand the music a little bit more and learning to appreciate it in real time. And I really liked that reaction. I think that was a really good one. So what else? The vocals, amazing across the board. So incredible. I don't think that the harsh vocals were that great. However, they were so sparing. They were done so sparingly. Like, Guy probably knows that his screaming vocals aren't like the best, but I loved the way it was done. Everything was done phenomenally. There were lots of moments where I feel like you couldn't necessarily tell all the pitch correcting stuff was on it. But then later on in the album, and even a lot of parts at the beginning too, you could really hear that pitch correcting stuff going on. Didn't bother me that much. As I said, there was a lot of moments that reminded me a lot of Ryan Tedder's songwriting and One Republic. Ryan Tedder is the singer for One Republic, and he's written so many songs that you definitely would know for other artists. I really appreciated that. So like, because I'm a fan of One Republic, I'm not someone that just like scoffs them because they're so hugely popular and they make pop music. It takes a really special band to make an entire album full of hit pop songs. Like, that is not something that happens very often. There is definitely a reason why one-hit wonders exist, which is why I have a lot of appreciation for earlier Imagine Dragons and basically One Republic's entire catalog. But there were a lot of moments here that sounded like One Republic, really made me think of that. The singer's vocals, I talked about it a lot in the first two tracks, so if you want to hear me talk a little bit more in depth of what I was thinking there. Such a unique sounding timbre to his voice. Really appreciated that. I mentioned, like, it would be really interesting to see like the waveforms of him singing, because there was so much character to his voice. There was so much movement in his voice, other than like the movement from pitch to pitch. There was so many things happening with the way he was singing. There were moments where he was whispering, and then there were moments where he was sort of doing like a more intense whisper thing, which you don't see very often or hear very often. Anytime a band is such that you can do whispers unironically and have it be like a part of a track means it's super dynamic. That's really awesome. I gotta say, the bass playing didn't stand out to me really at all. Maybe there isn't even a bass player in this band. I don't know. I think it said just like 3 members listed, but I'm sure there was definitely bass being played. But at no point did I notice the bass really at all. It was everything else. Oh, that was something else I wanted to mention too. I'll end my thoughts on the album with this. I want to draw attention, and this is going to be really kind of an abstract thing, so follow me here. I want to just think about for a second, like, think about the sounds that were used on this album. I talk a lot in my channel about what you're hearing that's different than the drums, bass, guitar, vocals, right? Take the drums, bass, guitar, vocals away. A lot of the time you're left to that sort of mid-rangey soup stuff that I was talking about in the first 2 tracks. But here you're getting a lot of piano, but then you're getting a lot of elements that were sort of synthy elements, sound effect elements, sampled elements. I want you to think about, next time you listen to this album, think about everything you're hearing. And then think about what you're not hearing. And I know that's like a super abstract thing, but like, when you sit down with a keyboard to work on a song and you start going through patches and presets, and you have every sound that's ever been created at your fingertips, it is so easy to do things that don't necessarily fit within the confines of a song. You know, that's where songwriting comes in and all that stuff. But the fact that you didn't hear so many crazy synths, you didn't hear so many things on this album, like I mentioned, even once I thought I heard like a glockenspiel type of thing. You didn't really hear lots of bells. You didn't hear lots of, you didn't hear so many things, which to me doesn't signal a lack of interesting sounds. It signals a restraint in the songwriting. And I appreciate that so much. A restraint in terms of what you're hearing, because when you have a band that's so clearly led by not guitars, although there were several guitar-led songs on here, but also mostly I would say the album was predominantly led by keyboards. I would assume that the songs were written on piano or keyboard. And then a large portion of the album was also just sort of like a beat with him singing over the top of it. And I really enjoyed all that hip hop stuff too. So I don't want to not mention that. But like when you have someone that's writing music on keyboards and piano, you have every sound that's ever been uttered and created across all of human history at your fingertips. And some people find the need to use all of those sounds in every song that they create. And that's not what happened here. There was a restraint shown, and it's not something that I really notice very often with things, but I really noticed it here. Every sound that was used, that wasn't guitar, bass, drums, vocals, piano, every sound other than that felt very carefully chosen and was mixed into the songs absolutely perfectly. And I think that is something that probably goes unnoticed. Like the mixing here, the mixing engineer, whether it was the guy in the band or someone that was helping them work on it or whatever, did a phenomenal job. And then the mastering, I feel like, was done as well because it allowed the songs to have those high, crispy frequencies when they needed to, and it didn't take them away always. The low, crunchy, big parts felt like they were missing some of those high frequencies during certain parts. And again, I kind of explained that already. It allowed the vocals to sit over them when the vocals did come back in, if that was how the song was written. But then those two songs where the metal did feel sort of more perfect sounding to me. There were no vocals over those really. And that the fact that was still allowed to exist on this album, it tells me the mastering was done really well as well. So across the board, done phenomenally well. The only negative I can have really that I would say is that those three songs faded out, which is unacceptable to me. And I hate that they did that. And that's really the only negative I could say. Yeah. I'm going to leave the video there. I think that, I don't even need to say anything else. Got lots of good stuff coming out on my channel. Join me for any of that. Thank you very much for being here and for watching the video, and I will see you next time. Normally in my videos, I drink a soda pop, or a pop as we call them here in the Midwest, middle of Nebraska. But today I have something really, that's such interesting timing. Hello.
Hello there.
Hello, Grandma. How's it going?
I was just wondering, do you have your windows shut?
We do have all of our windows shut because it's been so hot all day.
Well, they got that smoke going through.
That's right. I had heard that we were actually we had an alarm, not an alarm, but we had a notification on one of our devices earlier saying that there was like a fog smoke warning thing.
Yeah.
So, yep, we've got everything closed.
Oh, okay. I just kind of thought, well, maybe it didn't have something shut or something.
Yep. Nope. We've got everything shut. It's been a little too hot for us to have the windows open today.
That's what I wanted to know.
Okay.
A lot of times the guy who opens up, I always try to keep my bathroom window open.
Yeah. I can see that.
But I had to shut it. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I wanted. Sorry to bother you.
Okay. Well, I'll talk to you later, all right?
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.